Let's get more on this now from Vicky Pryce in London. She's a board member of the Centre for Economics and Business Research. Good to have you on our first program of the year, Vicky. There's no doubt that the European Union is coming under a lot of pressure on a number of fronts, but let's start with Brexit, which has been the most obvious challenge to this concept of the European Union. How has Britain's decision to leave the EU affected its credibility and its perception as a whole?
Oh, there is no doubt that it's been quite unsettling for Europe. I mean, here we are, one of the biggest countries in the world, which has decided in a referendum 2.5 years ago to leave the EU after 40 years. That hasn't been easy for the rest of the EU to accept and deal with. They have, of course, stuck very much to their guns because the fear they have had for quite some time is that should there be a Brexit which gives too much to the UK, then maybe other countries would also want to follow. They have stuck, therefore, to the principles of free movement of people, capital, services, and goods to the letter in any of the negotiations that they have had or the discussions they've had with the UK over those years since the referendum, and haven't really given in very much at all. And the UK has felt that because it's basically not been able to get its own way. There had been a belief originally that the UK could have its cake and eat it.
Let's look at a potential flashpoint that's currently developing, and that's the reasonably new populist government that's in Italy at the moment. Matteo Salvini, the Deputy Prime Minister there, has been openly challenging the concept of the EU, or at least decision makers in Brussels, over things like immigration and also its dictating of Italy's budget. How much of a threat is the rise of Italy's populist government to the concept of the EU?
The interesting thing is that since the euro was formed, Italy has been seen as the weakest link because it hasn't really been growing particularly fast. There have been years when it hardly grew at all. It hasn't really benefited to any considerable extent from being a member of the euro. It's a country which has two parts, the north, which is more or less like a northern European country, and the south, which isn't and is growing much more slowly than the north. And it's been quite difficult to have a sort of coherent policy to move it across, and hence a lot of political instability in Italy. In addition, of course, as you mentioned, the migration issue. Italy and Greece have received loads of migrants, and the rest of Europe hasn't really been very prepared to share it. What this new populist, if you like, coalition government is trying to do is address some of the concerns of people, that wages haven't been rising, that incomes haven't been rising, that indeed the economy has just not been performing to the extent that it should be doing. And there have been many, many lost years, and it needs to spend more in many areas, but it's been hindered from doing so in a way by the EU. I think a compromise is now looking likely. So Italy will still nevertheless remain an issue.
And of course, in 2019, we have the European parliamentary elections coming up. Might we see more Eurosceptic members enter the European Parliament and perhaps forcing the EU to change some of its ways?
I think Euroscepticism has been growing, but not to the extent of seriously threatening the EU. But yes, a number of the right-wing parties in particular have done considerably better. Look at Germany with Alternative für Deutschland, for example. But of course, if things go according to plan, there won't be any UK Eurosceptic MEPs who had done rather well in the last European elections. But indeed, the whole political landscape is changing. There is quite a lot of concern, particularly in former Eastern European countries, as we used to call them, where populism is on the rise. And indeed, I think we will see probably more Eurosceptic MPs there.
OK, Vicky Pryce, we will have to leave it there, but I look forward to more of our discussions in 2019. Thank you again.